Welcome back. You know, we've got one of our favorite friends, the 700 Club Canada, Dr. Merry Lin. Welcome.
Good to be back. Thank you.
You know, it's spring and we're starting to feel a little stir crazy, like getting out. It's been a pretty full winter.
Yes, it has been.
And, you know, I find that when winter comes, we become pack rats.
Yes.
You know, whether it's just in the natural or it's spiritual, we try to pack a lot of things in. And spring is a great time for a little bit of spring cleaning.
Yes.
And so I want to talk to you today about some spring cleaning. I know I have a lot to do. I mean, I'm a garage stuffer. I stuff things in the garage. But you've got a great book here too, and I want everyone to know about this because we love you so much. I love you personally. You know, the fully lived life. I mean, you've got to get this book. This is such a great book. Could you tell us, why'd you write this in the first place?
Well, I've always wanted to write, but God, in his humor and wisdom, knew that I needed to go through my own personal journey before I could actually write with authenticity. And so I went through a very serious season of burnout and depression. And out of that, what he taught me about his grace and how he led me through a journey of healing was what I ended up writing about.
Wow. Now, that's really, I mean, that's what I love about you, your transparency and openness as well. But, you know, you are probably the quintessential person that has a lot of things in order. Talk to me a little bit about burnout from that perspective.
Well, I am a driven person. Some of it comes out of just my personality, and to be honest, some of it comes out of my insecurity because of my desire to be approved of. And part of what led to my burnout, especially as a Christian, was a strong desire to even almost earn God's approval. So I wasn't necessarily busy making, you know, like tons of money doing things. It was ministry work. It was taking care of others. And I'm in a helping field, so I'm even more feeling like, well, if God has given me these gifts to help others and encourage others, I have to do it and more and more and more. And you know, the demands and the needs are just endless because this is a hurting world.
Oh, yeah.
So I just felt like that's what I'm called to do, so let's just keep going. Until I started to notice that I wasn't quite myself, much more irritable, and ministering out of a sense of emptiness and going home with nothing left for my family.
You know, that I'm sure has resonated with so many because a lot of pastors and a lot of those that are in Christian ministry, they believe, you know, you just keep working and you serve God and then you keep doing this and God will take care of you, God will take care of you. And then we deny our physical, our emotional, our spiritual, our overall vessel in the temple that God's given us.
Of course. And one of the worst things is because I know all this in terms of health. Often, you know, it's like physician heal thyself. No. So I'm preaching it, but I'm not necessarily practicing until I got to that place.
Well, you know, I've gone through that myself, and you know, you write in your book, and I love this. God rigs our world. You know, when you're talking about how you know, us being in a performance trap, and then also doing a little spring cleaning. Let's start right there. I mean, what are you talking like? What you talking about, Willis?
Well, when we are going through difficult times, often it's hard for us to see why God allows it, and we can get very angry or discouraged or feel that he may be against us. Why is he letting us go through these hard times? And this rigging the world thing actually sounds like a negative. But when you actually are sometimes left with no choice but to enter into this journey of facing God and working through deep heart issues that's holding you back from this life that he really wants you to have, that's when you realize he loves you so much that he's allowed those things to happen in your life because he wants to use it for his good purposes, because he knows exactly what you need. He knows Jesus has come to give us freedom.
That's right.
And a full life. So why are we not living that? Why are we walking around like sleepwalking? And that's because, and often we don't know that ourselves. So he sometimes has to take us to those places where we acknowledge and begin to recognize, oh, I'm trapped in feelings of worthlessness or shame, or I'm stuck in an addiction, or I have issues with my relationships I'm not willing to resolve and I'm stuck in bitterness. And that's when you begin to work towards freedom if you're willing to go there.
And I know someone is just saying OMG right now because you are just driving their bus. I mean, I'm feeling this. And
Yeah, tell me your problems, Brian.
Well, I'm asking the question.
Okay, all right, all right.
Laura Lynn asks that same question every time, and I'm like, moving right along.
Well, should I tell you your problems?
Well, you know what? Later.
Okay, all right.
But for right now, I want to help someone else out there.
All right.
But for real though, I myself, I recognize my limitations, and leaning and trusting in the Lord for His rest, working hard but playing hard is an essential.
Yeah.
But you said something that really stood out, and it was the shame, because a lot of times in ministry, we don't like to talk about it or what we're battling with. And that shame can actually become one of our worst enemies.
Yeah.
And talk about spring cleaning. Can you help us with that shame area?
And that is such an insidious issue that many of us deal with without even realizing it. It often underlies why we act the way we do, such a deep-rooted sense of insecurity in who we are. And shame, in the illegitimate sense, if I can put it that way, is a rejection of who we are as people, that there's something wrong with us, that there's something about our worth, as opposed to conviction or guilt, where we've messed up and we have to acknowledge that. So shame's not that; it's about a core who we are, and there's something lacking who we are. And so, when that's what's driving you, then if you have to always prove your worth through either your busyness or your ministry or the stuff you accumulate, or if I put you down, it makes me feel better, it just drives so much of our behavior. So
give us some practical things, because just to get us over that area of shame and do some spring cleaning and some internal spring cleaning by the grace of God.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is just taking the time to be aware of how much shame is part of your life. If you find yourself in this rat race of trying to prove yourself all the time, if you find that you're easily hurt or offended, or you can't handle criticism, consider that there might actually be shame there. And one of the things I certainly found most powerful with my journey with shame was to actually begin to be transparent in sharing my story, some of my worst fears and shame and things that I've messed up with, and to do it with somebody who can show grace to me. We know in our head that God is grace, but to be with someone who can demonstrate that grace with us and show us the love of Christ can be so healing.
That is so wonderful, because it's really the grace of God and the finished work of the cross that allows us to receive the healing. The scripture says that no temptation has overtaken us except what is common to man. But with that temptation, God provides the way of escape. He is the way, the truth, and the life today as well. Dr. Merry Lin, we're going to be back, but it's the fully lived life. And Dr. Merry Lin, one of my favorite people in the 700 Club Canadas as well. And if you need more help in that area or would like to get a hold of this book, 1-855-759-0700. We'll be right back.